Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, talking fishing. If it's facts about fishing that you want to know, then tune in, folks, cause this is the show. We'll show you all the right bait to use, so sit right back, you got nothing to lose. Doesn't really matter if it's trout or carp, flathead, marlin or a gummy shark. Listen to the guys and you can't go wrong. They'll be talking about fishing till the cows come home. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
Welcome everyone to Talking Fishing, something a little bit different this week. We're sitting on the couch, old school, and Channel 31 has a new studio coming, so we're just going to do a little bit of a different show tonight. A one-on-one interview with the head of the Victorian Fisheries Authority. Welcome, Travis Dowling.
It's just wonderful to be here, David, and it's great.
You're no stranger to the show, but this is a little bit different.
Yeah, no, it's, I'm feeling very Oprah at the moment. Very Andrew Denton.
Well, you should be, because we've got a few questions lined up, and we might delve a little bit into the personal stuff as well. So,
that's just wonderful.
Sit back, you got your seatbelt on?
Absolutely.
Enjoy the next hour, okay? Now, big shoes to fill. You're the CEO of the Victorian Fisheries Authority. Previous to the Victorian Fisheries Authority, it was Fisheries Victoria.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of other names before then, but I just want to compare you to a little bit of history. Who's the predecessors? And we've got a little slide here for everyone to see. Alfred Dunbaven Butcher, 1949 to 1973. He was the head of fisheries. What's that, 49, 59, 60, 24 years.
He's got a few letters after his name too, Dunbaven.
He has got a few letters. I'm not sure what all of them mean. Order of Australia is one of them, obviously. But Richard, now, I wind forward a little bit. Richard McLaughlin, which certainly I knew a little bit. Dr. Peter Appleford.
Yeah, lovely bloke.
Great bloke. I reckon he started the change in fisheries. There was a lot of change around his era. Anthony Hurst.
Great guy.
You still bump into him now?
Wonderful bloke. I often help him with his car.
Ross McGowan was in the seat for a short period, and then 2014. So this is 7 years now.
I've been very fortunate. And a big thanks to Peter Appleford, who gave me my first start within fisheries, and it's a dream job, but I've been very, very fortunate. And I say this often, but it's one of those jobs that you'd probably do if they didn't pay you, but I know that my family are very happy that I do get paid, but I just love it.
You just love getting up every morning and coming to work and doing what you do.
I remember one of my first days in the job when I came over from where I had been working, and I remember going to a meeting and contacting my brother after that meeting. So I just couldn't believe it. The meeting was about Murray cod and about what we were doing.
You'd hate that.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's right. I'm sitting there, I literally had to pinch myself that I'm getting paid to sit in a meeting and talk about Murray cod. I grew up just, idolising the fishing.
Yeah. You're a boy from Euroa.
Yep. Tell
us about your career. Like, what did you study at uni? What was your first job?
Yep.
Don't have to give us any embarrassing answers.
No. I did unusual pathway to fisheries. I did an arts degree at La Trobe Uni out in Bundoora. Coming down from Euroa, I hadn't spent any time in Melbourne at all.
Wow.
Came down and did that. And then I had a number of jobs. I worked at prisons. I was at Ararat. Worked at prisons for a couple of years, and I worked in Corrections Victoria. Then I went up the Northern Territory and I worked with victims of crime up there. And then I worked in politics up there. And I came back to Victoria and worked for the Emergency Services Commission. And then I worked in politics for about another 8 to 10 years. And from that,
when you say you worked in politics, how? What did you do?
So I worked for a number of different ministers. So I was Chief of Staff to the Deputy Premier and the Environment Minister, John Thwaites.
Oh, yeah.
And also to Andre Hairmeyer, who was the Police Minister.
Yep.
And in the Northern Territory, I worked for Claire Martin, who was the Opposition Leader and then Chief Minister. So really fortunate to work with some wonderful people.
While you were doing all that, were you going, my dream job's really to work in fisheries?
Oh, no, absolutely. That was all just the platform, building the platform. I'm actually sure I'm confident if Daniel Andrews is watching this show that the next step is to follow your dream, and he'll probably get a job working for Golfing Australia or someone like that, as he's a very keen golfer.
So you came to the job in 2014, but only a few years after that, there was a transition where Fisheries Victoria transitioned to the Victorian Fisheries Authority.
Yeah.
Did that create much change for you?
I think it's probably been one of the best things to happen in fisheries in Victoria for 50 or 100 years. And for people at home, they find it hard to understand the difference. But I'll just say, being a standalone authority that just looks after fishing allows us to do is to really get out there and focus on fishing. And previously, fishing was lumped in as a primary industry, so the same way that beef cattle or sheep or other resource industries were. But fishing is so much more than that, and everyone who watches your show knows that. I mean, fishing is an incredible pastime by almost 1 million recreational fishers in Victoria who love to get out there, and they bring a lot of money to regional communities and regional towns. They support bakeries and butchers, and if they don't catch many fish like me, they support the butcher. But it's been wonderful to ensure that fishing is prioritised in that way, that we have that we have a focus only on fishing rather than any of these other industries, and that's led to what we've seen through programs like Target 1 Million and others, which has been just a wonderful outcome in terms of fishing in Victoria.
What do you reckon Dunbaven Butcher would have said if the Minister for Fisheries said, "I'd like you to roll out a Target 1 Million"?
Yeah, I think he was an innovator. Actually, I think Dunbaven may have been one of the first to stock trout into Lake Eildon via Spitfire, flying over them. And so I think he would have loved the idea of it. And Target 1 Million was, just an incredible program in terms of highlighting to all of Victoria and all of Australia that this government is absolutely committed to getting more Victorians fishing, and all of the different things that we've done under Target 1 Million have been incredible.
We're going to talk about all them later on. But
wonderful.
If you look back at some of your predecessors, fisheries was really about conserving the stocks. Conservation,
I think
research.
we still are that.
Yeah, so you can't give that away.
No.
But that was the absolute focus.
Yeah.
And I know it is strong, yes, because you have a responsibility to manage the fisheries, but it was the primary function of fisheries, wasn't it? It was to, conserve, manage the stocks, do a bit of research, and, it was all about being tight and enforcing the rules. So
this is riveting TV, and I will say this, right? I will say that some people looked at us as an authority and looked at the fact that we have, a compliance part of what we do. So fisheries officers that a lot of your viewers will run into quite regularly, and they do a wonderful job, our fisheries officers. But we are more than a regulatory agency, and as part of our legislation, it is hardwired into our legislation that we will grow fishing in Victoria, not just recreational fishing, but we'll grow the value and the productivity of commercial fishing as well. And that is unique in Australia. So we're not just there to protect the status quo. It is part of our legislation that it's incumbent upon us and me as the CEO of Victorian Fisheries Authority to make sure there are more people fishing, there are better resources, there's more access, and there's increased value in our commercial fisheries, and that's really exciting. So it's not, my job is not just to sit here and sort of keep an eye on it and make sure that nothing goes south. I actually have to be part of working with our team to grow our fisheries, which is great.
Do your counterparts in other states and territories around Australia just frown at you and go, "What are you doing?"
I'm sure they'll all...
Because some of them, might add, are probably 20 years behind the times.
Yeah, look, it is interesting, and I'd like to think people have moved a long way, that fisheries management isn't just about how many tonnes are being caught by your commercial fishers. Fisheries management now is about developing aquaculture. It's about Vic Fish Kids events. It's about social media and communications. It's about riparian habitat improvement. It's about what you're doing with your bays to make sure that your inflows are really working to support breeding within your bays and regulating your catch limit there. But I think that our colleagues around Australia look at Victoria with a bit of envy, and I think that
Well, and we're going to talk about some of your greatest achievements later as well. But I guess one thing that comes to mind right now is that if you just jump over the border, although you're not allowed to at the moment, but if you jump over the border into South Australia, you are not allowed to catch a snapper. Right, because there's a closed season, and I'm not talking a closed season, I'm talking a closed season. You're not allowed to catch a snapper for quite some time now, and they've obviously done something wrong. You've got to be pretty proud that we've got one of the best snapper fisheries probably in the world.
Well, I don't want to disparage in any way South Australia. They've got challenges, as every state does. Yeah. I will say that one of the great things that we really, really try and do is have that strong relationship with rec fishers. So, and also with our commercial fishers, where we need to make changes to bag limits or size limits, or we need to, change some of the quota that's involved in our fisheries, we take those decisions, we make those decisions, and we continue to have really, really strong fisheries. Like, currently our snapper and whiting fisheries are as good as they've ever been, which we're very fortunate about.
Yep. Hope you're enjoying this special episode of Talking Fishing Unhooked. After the break, Travis Dowling returns and we're going to discuss some of his greatest achievements next on Talking Fishing.
Talking Fishing.
And the Antenna Award for the Best Live and Outside Broadcast Program goes to Talking Fishing.
Thank you for having me on Channel 31, by the way. The only network that hasn't sacked me so far.
Really?
So, we've got an hour.
Yeah. There's a few stars that have come from Channel 31, you know.
Who?
Oh, Pete Hellier.
As I said, who?
All right, guys, got Shane Dunlop here from Channel 31. He's the station manager. Shane, you want to have a chat to everybody?
Yes, thanks, David. I just wanted to take a quick moment to, with all of you here, to congratulate Talking Fishing because you've won the 2021 Antenna Award for Best Live Program. Congratulations.
Oh, wow. How good's that? Thanks, Shane. How good is that, everyone?
Well, look at that.
Kevin, I won't shake everyone's hand, but seriously, this is absolutely fantastic, and we won the 2019, we've won this one, 2021. I really got to thank the crew because, Adam, we just turn up here and talk fishing and that's all we do. But Jack, Heidi, Pat, Darby, Lewis, Kevin, our producer, who does tireless amount of work getting all the graphics, all the videos ready. It is a great team effort, and can I just thank you all because this is your award. It's absolutely fantastic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for supporting us, and we'll keep talking fishing.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. Nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
Welcome back to Talking Fishing on the Couch this week with Travis Dowling, an in-depth interview, and Travis is the CEO of the Victorian Fisheries Authority.
No, all good.
Thanks for joining us, Trav. I want to talk about some of your greatest achievements, and you dabbled in the first one, Target 1 million before. How did that program begin? Where was it born, and who came up with the name?
Yeah, well, look, I think it is a wonderful program, but I get a bit embarrassed when you say my greatest achievements. One of the things I will say is that we have, the Victorian Fisheries Authority have a really, really wonderful relationship with fishers across Victoria, and there are almost 1 million of them. I'm hoping there are 1 million of them. And we've just worked so well together to really, I suppose, not ask what can't we do, it's what can we do, and to look at ways to continue to improve fishing. And some of the things that have been absolute huge successes have been the stocking of native species in the Rocklands Reservoir over near the Grampians, which is just, it is going to be Australia's best cod and yellow belly fishery, which is wonderful.
So a bit like another Eildon.
Yeah, it's like another Eildon, but it's a much warmer water temps. Yeah. It's sunken forest. Eildon really is in a valley, and Eildon is. Don't get me wrong, Eildon's a great fishery, and everyone who fishes Eildon absolutely loves it, and it's great for iconic cod and trout. But Rocklands will be wonderful. But there are so many other things that we have achieved through Target 1 million, and it's, the government invested a record $80 million since 2014 into fishing, which is basically more than every other state combined put together is gone towards fishing.
Wow.
And those things have, they've included buying out the netting in Port Phillip Bay. They've included things like holding Vic Fish Kids festivals, Torquay Trout festivals, $1,500 grants, $2,000 grants to over 300 angling clubs, putting defibrillators out there. Walking tracks have gone in, fishing platforms have gone in. We're stocking stonkers into all the metro lakes.
Can I stop you on that? Stonkers.
Yeah. It's an official term. It's a Latin word.
For huge?
It translates Latin to really, really big trout. Yeah, exactly.
What a great idea.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And shout out to people like Ed Meggett and to the other trout producers and to others that, they came on board with us in this, and we said, fish that were going to Sydney sort of fish market to turn into fish soup, we're saying, 7 or 8 year olds that could fish around the Melbourne metropolitan lakes, but also Goulburn River, and catch, rather than a sort of 15 centimetre carp on a bunch of worms, catching a 13 or 14 pound rainbow trout. They're just, they're the memories of a lifetime.
Can I ask you this question again?
Sure.
What would Dunbaven butchers have said if you'd have said, can you go out and stock a whole lot of 14 pound trout?
Yeah. Look, some of it's a bit outside of the square thinking, and it's it's certainly got a lot of Victorians very excited, and for people's physical and mental well-being to be out there fishing, and particularly, during these challenging times, those stockings in the metro lakes when people can only go 5 kilometres from their home, they're creating wonderful opportunities for people.
You only had to look at Catch of the Week last week. It was absolutely dominated by stonker trout, and you got to ask yourself, what is September now? It was the lead into the snapper season. It's always been the start of trout season, but maybe not recognised by many anglers. Yeah. But now it's stonker season.
Stonker September.
It's snapper. Yeah. and it's also
copyright that someone. Stonker September.
and also the start of the big calamari, because I reckon we've probably got one of the best calamari fisheries in the world as well.
Well, Port Phillip Bay, we've got a city of 5 million people on top of Port Phillip Bay, and the fishing out there, I'm having people come to me suggesting that we cut our bag limits further because they're just seeing so many fish get caught. And it's an interesting conversation because we're saying, well, there's just a lot of fish available. We've got such a healthy bay and a healthy environment, and the bag and size limits are working perfectly. So, it's been a wonderful time to be involved in fishing. And I just want to make the point that, whilst I'm the CEO, there's 170, 180 VFA staff who are absolutely committed, like day in, day out. They're such a proactive group. People who work for fisheries are really motivated towards improving fishing.
I'm going to ask you about some of your team later on.
Yeah, okay.
No, that's all good. One of the things that you will be known for, and I know you say you're just delivering on what the government promised, but we're in a year now where you're going to stock a record number of fish. You don't just produce that and pour them in, do you?
No, and it's going to be 10 million fish that we stock this year, which is huge. When you go back a number of years, I mean, back to 2007, we were stocking 700,000 fish. And some people say, well, how many fish is enough? Like, are you going to overstock? But what we're actually doing is we're displacing the carp and the redfin and the stunted redfin in a number of these waterways, and replacing them with some iconic sport species like, Murray cod, golden perch, brown trout, rainbow trout, cheetah trout, tiger trout, Chinook salmon, and we're providing these opportunities. People are fishing waters that they said, their parents fished way back, and they used to have really good populations of fish. And then the carp and the redfin came in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and those waters, really became quite average to fish. The stunted redfin, they're now back. They're fishing those waters again, and they're catching cod and yellows. And one of the things I'm really proud of is the work the Snobs team have done, working with Arthur Ryler Institute and Jared Lyon and the team over there, recovering Macquarie perch and trout cod. And then, I also look at the work that's been done in East Gippsland that I know people like Jeff Fraser and others love, which is the bass that have gone into the rivers, and the estuary perch that have gone into the rivers over there. I mean, 8 years ago we weren't stocking bass. We're now putting 500,000 bass a year into the Nicholson, the Mitchell, the Tambo, all the way through the Snowy, Glen Maggie, Blue Rock. I mean, I just love it. These fisheries are really rebuilding, and I don't think we've seen the best of it. The next 10 years, as the stocking program really kicks through, people are going to have fishing experiences than they've never had before. Yeah,
I want to ask you about trout cod in a minute, right? But people at home are seeing quite a serious interview here, and you've actually got a personal life. You're an average, and I know you've had a great career, and it's not over yet, by the way. You've got
sorry, what are you telling me?
You got 17 years to catch Dunbaven, so you've still got a long time.
Yeah,
right,
sure.
You're in the job for a while.
That's scaring a lot of people, by the way.
but correct me if I'm wrong, you've now been running well over 110 days straight, 10 kilometres every morning. Correct?
Possibly.
Yeah. So you're a runner, right? You also love your cooking. Now, don't say that. And during COVID, it's probably sent us all a little bit loopy.
Okay.
And you have a bit of fun with a few mates. And we just happened to get a little bit of video of you.
Oh, this is wonderful.
In the kitchen, Travis. I hope
Great.
you don't mind us playing this.
Oh,
but
lovely.
Let's have COVID cooking, let's call it.
Oh, okay.
Probably, I don't know, this footage is, over the last year, but let's have a look at...
Not sure what this is going to be, but...
Let's have a look at how Travis goes in the kitchen.
Are we rolling? Is it start? Has it started? Oh, hello! Welcome to Preston Pantry on a sultry Tuesday afternoon. Some people had the pantry out of the running for the big race, but we're coming home strongly. I just notice I'm in all my cooking gear. If you come over here, you'll see that we've got the crushed garlic, we've got the sliced avocado. These are Italian cherries we've had flown in directly. The sliced yellow capsicum. These are sweet bean sprouts. This is a Greek red onion. There is some we call them little fish. Little fish in Italian, you would know them as little fish. That's little fish. Some lemon juice, some little bit of parsley. Come over here, a little bit of Dijon, some white wine vinegar, pepper and salt. We're going to add a little bit of this later on. Here's our meat. Now this is a prime cut of rump. We grew this cow ourselves, and this has been aging all afternoon. It's heavily salted on both sides. What we're going to be making tonight is I call it a steak and avocado salad with a fried garlic vinaigrette. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat a medium pan over a medium heat, and then I'm going to add oil. Then I'm going to add the anchovies and the garlic, and I'm going to cook for about 3 minutes. Anyway, it's going to be delicious. It's going to look amazing. I'll be back soon.
Yeah.
Have you been cooking long?
I think I'm going to have to apologise to a few of my Italian friends there for a very bad Italian accent.
Thanks to your lovely wife Katie for sending in, funniest home video this week. But anyway,
wonderful.
that was good of it.
Yeah,
So
it's wonderful.
So you've had a bit of fun. It does send you a bit loopy being at home, but you're doing well for the family. Hey, just back on the trout cod, just quickly.
Sure.
You, one of the things I guess people do say around Shepparton areas like that is. You catch a lot of trout cod.
Yeah.
Now, the VFA... and
I love hearing that, by the way.
Yeah. But back, I don't know, might have been about 6-7 years ago, you set up 2 lakes to have trout cod in. That hasn't worked, has it?
No, Kerford and Samble up near Beechworth, and people that live up in Beechworth hopefully watch the show. We really wanted to create a fishery where people could go and catch a trout cod. And I've got I'll probably get yelled at by a few people at home, but I love the idea that you can catch a fish and you can eat that fish, right? So try and take it home and eat it, and and really enjoy the health benefits, the omega-3 benefits. But Samble and Kerford, the fish haven't grown through to the 40 centimetre slot that we've set for the trout cod. That's probably food dependent and others, but we have got really strong populations that you can't keep, but in the Goulburn and the Ovens, and we're hoping that one day trout cod are as prevalent as they were maybe 70 or 80 years ago, because they're a great sports fish. They're a really, really aggressive fish. They'll attack a lure. And I hear they're wonderful eating, although I've never eaten one.
Neither have I. So, well, who knows? One day they might recover and you'll be able to catch them in the rivers and just enjoy them. Yeah. Coming up next on Talking Fishing, I'm going to ask you about some challenges in fisheries.
Sure.
Next on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
We know what you'd rather be doing.
We know what you've really got in mind.
We know you'd rather be out fishing. And today's the day you're gonna wet a line. 'Cause every day's a good day.
Stop wishing. Every day's a chance to drift away.
Drift away.
Every day's a good day for fishing. See it down and tackle world today.
Good morning, spotters. Stephanie speaking.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing.
And welcome back to Talking Fishing. We are on the couch with Travis Dowling, the CEO of the Victorian Fisheries Authority. Travis, it's not all rosy. I mean, you have your challenges in your job, and I want to talk about a few of those. And it's like anything in life, right? So everyone has problems. I mean, if you've got that many staff, what'd you say, 170 odd staff? I mean, you're going to have staff issues, obviously, and all that. Every problem that everyone else experiences. But as far as the general public goes, and rec anglers, I guess in particular, but I'd be interested to hear if you get this in the commercial industry as well, is that racism. I mean, it's big in the AFL. It keeps raising its head in the AFL, and particularly with the Indigenous players, it just doesn't seem to go away. But is there racism in fishing?
Yeah, look, it's a continued, I suppose, I would say, opportunity for us rather than a challenge to talk about how Victoria now is a different place to what it was maybe 50 or 70 years ago. I mean, even 30 years ago, people saw calamari as bait. Like pilchards and whitebait were bait, and now we're starting to see them really being marketed as food. And we're seeing that with periwinkles. We're also seeing sea urchins being seen as top quality food, and different cultures.
Spider crabs,
yeah, absolutely. And different cultures, have a different affinity with different types of seafood, and that has at different times led to conflict in terms of what people believe are mainstream fisheries and what people should be targeting, and also where you have groups of people coming together from a community to fish for particular species that mightn't have occurred before. But look, I have to say, the Victorian public generally are, a very welcoming and beautiful community. And what we've seen is where there might have been change occurring in some fisheries, a strong embracing and an accepting of the fact that not everyone wants to eat a snapper. And there's space and there's room with good fisheries management for everyone from whatever cultural background you're from to enjoy our fisheries.
You still hear the stories. I mean, they're still in the front page of the local papers and things like spider crabs is one. There's a huge community that likes their yellow belly up at Eildon in the months of October, November. There's a huge community that love the sand crabs down at Lakes Entrance, for instance. Do you need to manage that differently, or?
Well, I suppose I like to talk about embracing some of these conversations and discussions. Particularly the yellow belly at Lake Eildon is wonderful. So there is a growing amount of people who go and fish for these yellow belly over there, and in terms of people's cultural background, that's becoming so much more diverse, and I think it's wonderful. And people who previously may have only fished from the bank are now out there in boats and they're fishing really well. And sometimes it's a little bit confronting for people that have fished these waters for often, that some people are coming in and fishing them better, and they're really good at how they fish these waters. And but our compliance levels are 99%, in terms of people doing the right thing. I will, sometimes occasionally get people suggest that people from different cultures aren't obeying bag and size limits. The data just really doesn't support that. No.
Pippies at Venus Bay, you had to change the bag there.
Yeah, so what we try and do is, and we do this sometimes with some of our species, in terms of what's a reasonable day's take for what the community would see is a reasonable day's take for what you might need to eat for you and your family. And so even though sustainably you might be able to take a lot more, society is sort of moving to the point where we'd like to leave some fish in the water, we'd like to leave some pippies in the sand and others. So we went to a reasonable day's take, which we thought was more like 5 litres than 10 or 20 litres, and that's worked really well, and that's diffused a lot of the community concern with Venus Bay and pippies, and we've got a wonderful fishery there now that we celebrate.
The next subject it's challenging in a way, but it's also a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's women in recreational fishing.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You've got a program going, but there's still, I'd say there's still a long way to go. And it's, again, I'll liken it to football. There is inequality in the AFLW to the AFL men's.
Yeah.
We've got to get that right in fishing, don't we?
Well, I'd say a massive shout out to Jala Pulford, who really led the charge. I think she was probably the first female fisheries minister, and now we have Melissa Horn. But Jala, she really championed women in rec fishing, and we established the Women in Rec Fishing.
I can just hear Rex Hunt saying Candy Broad. Candy Broad used to
Oh,
be.
Candy Broad, sorry.
There you
Oh,
go.
yes. And actually, no, my apologies, Candy, because Candy's name is on the plaque up at Snobs Creek, too far.
There you go. Yeah. Just keep going.
No, absolutely. Yeah. But Jarlo really led and championed the establishment of the Women in Rec Fishing Network, and whether it's footy, whether it's cricket, whether it's soccer, women are so really, really engaged in a lot of pastimes that historically we've seen as male dominated, and we just, from a fishing point of view, it is wonderful. And there was a perception that women were accompanying men going fishing, and their stories were associated with the men that are fishing, but that's not the case in Victoria anymore. We have a really large and wonderful community of women who are going fishing with other women. They have their own dedicated Facebook page. They have their own dedicated network. Yep. And people are really excited about it. And, the future in Victoria is 50-50 men and women fishing out there, and and we're well on the way to that. And I just think that's wonderful.
There's a group of people in a control room that run this show, and they're just telling me Katie has sent another video.
Oh, that's just awesome.
Now, as I said earlier on, you're a Euroa boy. Yeah. You love the Goulburn River.
I do, yeah.
And here you are multitasking, cooking on the Goulburn River. Let's have a look at this.
Oh. Hey, how are you there? Look, we are all set to go. Earlier today, or in the last episode, you may have seen some beautiful falafel Turkish bread being cooked. Now we're moving on to the trout. The pan's heated up. Let's do our first thing. Let's get some lure pack. Let's whack a bit of lure pack on there. Not too much though. We don't want to over butter our beautiful wild brown trout. See how that's not too hot and it's turning nicely? Now what I'm going to do, so we've got that, it's non-stick now. We just want that on the edge, right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook these first. I'm going to cook these first, skin down, okay? Because we really want to crisp up this beautiful wild brown trout skin. We're going to crisp it right up, okay? Just notice that beautiful sizzle we've got going on there. This is going to be excellent. Now, you don't want to add too much lime. Some people go with lemon, but much more zest in a lime than you'll find in a lemon. Now what I'm doing, I'm getting a little bit of dill, okay? And you've got to break it up with your hands. It needs to be mashed. It can't just be cut. It needs to be mashed. And I'll just sprinkle that dill just ever so gently. You don't want to put too much dill on there. It'll take away the wild brown trout flavour. Now after the break, I'm going to come back and add a little bit of pepper and salt to that, not too much. Back after the break.
Did you just say to me people are going to think you're gone mad?
Yeah. I'm pretty
Not
sure.
think.
Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure there's a few other senior public servants in Victoria just here they're deleting any video they have of themselves cooking, and I'm quietly confident that there's no celebrity chefs that are currently worried about their roles. But anyway.
No, it's good to have a bit of a laugh and that. So, excuse me. I hope you're enjoying this special episode of Talking Fishing Unhooked with Travis Dowling. After the break, we'll discuss all the different arms of the VFA. Next on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
G'day. Callan here from Paul Worsland's Tackle World Kramer. Supercharged batteries have been supplying maintenance-free marine batteries since 2001. The Seamaster Gold range is second to none, delivering superior starting power and reserve capacity. No need to top up with water, truly a fit and forget battery. With up to 2 years replacement warranty, you know you have quality. Your battery is your lifeline. Without it, you're dead in the water because it's bloody hard to push start. I've got a Seamaster battery in my boat. Make yours a Seamaster Gold today.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing, nothing but fishing. We're talking fishing.
And welcome back to Talking Fishing. Travis Dowling on the couch with us tonight for an in-depth interview. If you've missed the start, you've got to go back and watch it. There's been some pretty interesting things, I can tell you. Trav, I want to talk about the different arms of VFA because you're not just there to check bag and size limits by fisheries officers. There's so much more to the Victorian Fisheries Authority. And I've got a list here. I mean, enforcement, education, events, fish production, communications team, science, and then the management of aquaculture, commercial, recreational sector.
Yeah.
Start wherever you want. Tell us.
It's huge. And I will say to all the people listening, and this is not being falsely modest, but I could be hit by a bus tomorrow and the team would continue to operate as they do. They're just incredibly switched on and professional and committed workforce, and everyone complements each other. So some people are really maths and science focused, and others are really good at comms and engagement, policy writing. And we have introverts, we have extroverts, we have people that are absolute attention to detail, and then we have blue sky thinkers. But you can be really confident, for people at home, that the people that work in fisheries in Victoria, they're there to make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's the one. People are always looking to, I suppose, look for innovation, look for ways to continue to improve. Look at things like, where can we go digital? How can we go electronic? Things like,
fishing licenses.
Yeah, digital fishing licenses.
Yeah.
So that'll save almost $300,000 or $400,000 a year from issuing plastic licenses. That's $300,000 or $400,000 extra that can go into fish stocking. But
who does that work? Like, what part of fisheries works on a digital licence?
Yeah, so that's our licensing team, led by someone by the name of Chris Padavani, and Chris does a really good job. We've got Dallas De Silva, who's not a stranger to your show, Letitia Billings, who's our Chief Operating Officer. Letitia's son, Jack Billings, a very, very good player for St Kilda. So across our team, we've got just a really, really dedicated group, and people who come, who work there, really want to make fishing better in Victoria tomorrow. And I like to think that we're very open in that way. And so when you contact fisheries, you're not getting put through to a call centre. You can actually speak to a Taylor Hunt as a freshwater manager.
So if you ring 13 Fish, for instance, which is your reporting line for if you see something illegal, who do you get?
Well, you'll get a fisheries officer who's a 13 Fish duty officer.
Yeah, okay.
And they will, they'll basically, take on board that information and work out whether when we need to send people out. So
extraordinary powers for fisheries officers, like they confiscate cars and boats.
Yeah.
Unlike Victoria Police, if you like. I mean, it seems... Has that always been the way?
Yeah, can I just say, I joined fisheries in 2007 initially. It's almost 14 years. I haven't had a single complaint ever made to me, like in person, about a fisheries officer. I receive extraordinarily positive feedback, which you would think is quite often unusual for an enforcement group. Where people, they have to issue fines and they have to prosecute people. But the feedback I get from across the commercial sector and across the recreational sector is that our workforce are really professional and they're really friendly and they're really engaging. And I've even had blokes say, I got pinged, but you know what, I was doing the wrong thing and he was good about it or she was good about it. It's just a wonderful group of people to work with.
The events team.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Yeah, so we run...
when they can, non-COVID times.
Yeah, pre-COVID, and we'll get back there again. I mean, there's blue sky in front of us, but pre-COVID, we were running events all across Victoria, just, in most different lakes, Vic Fish Kids festivals, Talking Trout festivals, Murray conferences, Hooked on Lakes Entrance, Hooked on Portland. It's really about getting families and people along to get involved in fishing, giving out free fishing rods, work with people like Rex Hunt and and all of these other really strong ambassadors to support fishing in Victoria. And and mums and dads have really responded really strongly to it.
Yeah. Something that probably Dunbave and Butcher didn't do a lot of was events.
Yeah.
Science. From the scientists that I guess I've met in what I do, the Paul Hamers, the Greg Jenkins, the Corey Greens, they're some of the best.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to say world class. What they know is world class.
Yeah, and it underpins everything that we do. So, they're almost, they are I suppose the barometer for us in terms of where we need to go. And there's been some incredible successes. The work Simon Conrad did and others on the Dusky Flathead slot limit down at Lake Tyers. and that's pushed all the way through in terms of the Gippsland Lakes. That slot limit now is seeing record size, dusky flathead females caught, metre plus fish.
Yeah.
They're coming through. The Murray cod slot limit, we're seeing, through that slot, more metre cod caught than ever before. We know what our whiting fishery is going to do. We know what our snapper fishery is going to do. We're keeping an eye on what the kingfish are up to. We're tagging all over the place, mako sharks and others to see where they move, and all of that helps us with our fisheries management decisions. But if you're at home sort of wondering whether or not it's really just licking the finger and putting it in the sky and how we come up with some of these rules, they really are underpinned by some incredible people doing amazing work on understanding our fish stocks.
Yeah, you talk about people sitting at home.
Yeah.
Your wife's on fire tonight. They're just telling me now. They're just telling me now in my ear that there's another video.
Oh, that's just wonderful.
Can we watch one more?
Yeah, sure. Neil Perry's.
She promised. She's texted through saying that this one is embarrassing.
Okay. Oh, good.
Let's have a look at
Excellent.
what Travis gets up to in the kitchen.
Hi. So we're now outside in the we call this the Preston Pantry Organic Yard. What we're going to do is we're going to get some of our herbs for tonight. Okay, let's start. Let's see what we can find. Here looks like a good spot. Oh, hang on. Oh, excellent. Oh, we've got some turmeric. Oh, excellent. Let's see what else we can find in the organic Preston garden. I get a sense there could be more here. There should be some cumin here. Okay, then we lost the cumin. There should have been some cumin planted there. But anyway, we'll just keep digging around, see what else we can come up with. Oh, hang on a second. We've struck gold. Wow. All right, we'll be back later with more from the Preston Pantry.
Just confirming you've gone mad during COVID, eh?
Yeah, no, that's clearly showing that I probably needed to take a holiday sooner. And now I'm also picking up here that you might have been up to some shenanigans during lockdown.
No.
Well, what's that? Oh, I think you might have been.
Oh, g'day everyone. Welcome to Talking Cooking at Blairgowrie. Now, we like it fresh, and I've not seen anything like this ever done before by any other people like Preston and, where's that other? Oh, wherever, Williamstown and Hawthorne, all those places. But anyway, we like it fresh, so I'm going to see if I can get the ingredients now. Be back in a minute. Just keep watching. Tell you what, doesn't get any better than that. Cuttlefish for dinner tonight, caught in the wild here at Blairgowrie. See you after the break. Okay, we've all gone mad. We've all gone mad during COVID.
And I did like the hat. The hat was a very good touch in that.
I looked everywhere for that hat. Obviously not filmed during lockdown. That was quite warm in the water there.
During the break between lockdowns.
But anyway, we have a bit of fun. I was going to ask you about artificial reefs because it might have been in Hursty's era where the first ones in 25 years were sunk, but that's been a pretty good program too, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful. And when Jella Pulford oversaw a $1.5 million reef go in off Torquay, which was great, we're hoping that's going to attract some kingfish. But now all around Melbourne, in Port Phillip Bay, we've put reefs in some of the areas that were a little bit degraded and had been knocked about a bit, I suppose, over many years of different activity. But places like Hobson's Bay, we're working on a kingfish reef at the moment going in. So you've got spots now where you can go out and the GPS is all provided, and you can target good pinky snapper and others, and it's creating opportunities that weren't there yesterday and making our tomorrow for fishing in Victoria better. And a lot of this is paid for with rec fishing licence money as well. So shout out to everyone who buys their licence. It goes into our stocking, goes into our reefs, goes into all sorts of different access upgrades, track improvements, and we should touch on boat ramps at some point and the work that Catherine Greck and her team are doing.
We'll try and do that in a minute.
Yeah.
Not only does South Australia envious for being able to catch snapper, they'd love a fishing licence as well. But anyway, coming up next on Talking Fishing Unhooked, I'm going to ask Travis about life as the head of the Victorian Fisheries Authority. Next on Talking Fishing.
Talking fishing.
The Beaumaris Motor Yacht Squadron is a trailer boat and social club on Port Phillip Bay. The club has a great range of facilities, including multiple boat ramps, ample car and trailer parking, boat wash and fish cleaning, fishing competitions and boat safety lectures, boating activities and club events, a restaurant and 2 bars. Easy launch and retrieval makes for a relaxing time on the water for you, your family and friends to enjoy. And boating memberships are now available. The Beaumaris Motor Yacht Squadron, the best trailer boat experience on the bay.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. Nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing.
And welcome back to Talking Fishing, special edition tonight with Travis Dowling on the couch, and really get into your life and times as the head of fisheries. Travis, can I ask you a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
Because time's going to beat us here. I could spend a couple of hours talking to you. How do you get a job at fisheries?
Well, you can apply for a fisheries officer role. They're pretty hard to get into. We have about 1,000 applications for about 7 roles. But get involved in fishing. Volunteer, get involved with any of our fish care. Turn up to events. Get talking to people. But get involved in angling clubs. Come to our Vic Fish Kids events, but our Murray Codference, our Talk Wild Trout, and really just get involved. But I mean, some people believe that you have to have a marine science degree to work for fishing. You don't. You don't have to have a law or a legal studies degree either. You really just need to have a really strong passion for fishing and a really strong passion for wanting to make improvements in fishing.
And of course, there is a government website for job vacancies.
Absolutely.
And you can actually select Victorian Fisheries Authority and have a look at what's there. I know they might have already gone by now, but last time I looked, there was a couple of jobs going for the new fish hatchery up at Shepparton.
That's right.
So a couple of opportunities there for something different, So tell us about boat ramps, because Dunbave and Butcher didn't have to worry about boat ramps back then, but now you're charged with it. It's Better Boating Victoria's moved under the VFA, and you've got boat ramps to fix. That's a big job. Yeah,
and I have to say we've got a team led by Catherine and Greg who's come and joined us, and what the work that Catherine and her team are doing is extraordinary. There are 5 boat ramps at the moment that are under construction or almost completed construction. That's continued throughout COVID as really needing to get that work done. There's probably a list of about 40 boat ramps that are being worked on. Catherine and her team are looking at an unprecedented amount of investment going into boat ramps, thanks to the Victorian government in supporting that. Boat ramps are free in Victoria. We love the idea that mums and dads, cost of living pressures are being brought down. It's such a, it might seem like a small thing, but working across all of the committees of management and local government areas to remove those fees on every boat ramp. And if you just want to grab the kids and a rod and go and launch the tinny and go fishing, you don't have to worry about finding that $10 or $20 to pay for parking or anything. You can just go out there fishing, and these things, they might seem small, but to millions of Melburnians and Victorians, they're huge. So, yeah.
Tell me what a week in the life of the CEO of VFA is like. What's a typical week for you? Yeah,
well, obviously, my cooking is left for the weekend. But look, to be honest, I spend a lot of time talking to fishers and talking to whether it's rec fishers or commercial fishers. On a Monday, generally, I'll catch up with all the team and we'll work through what are the priorities for that week and what we need to plan for strategically. I'll often catch up with our board chair, Gail Owen, and we've got a wonderful board that sits above us of 8 really competent people who really oversee how we operate. And then from there into the week, I'll get into, again, whether it's meetings about how a science team are going or what's happening from an enforcement point of view, or how we might be tracking on particular things. Like I'll catch up with the Arcadia team on the building up there, or might be the Quarter Inlet, management, plan, or any of those sorts of things. And I try and get, with COVID and understanding restrictions, but I try and be out of the office at least a couple of days a week, where you're actually out talking to people at angling clubs from Nagambie to Portland to elsewhere, and sitting down and just having a cup of tea and a slice of Boston bun, which is a guilty pleasure, and and just chatting about fishing.
Still go for a 10K run after you've had that?
Yeah, I'll try and sneak it in beforehand.
So pretty complicated. You got a lot on for a busy week. What's one of your biggest challenges in your role?
Yeah, I'd say, again, I like it to look at it as opportunities, and there are so many different opportunities that we have, moving forward in Victoria. I think, it's this whole idea of shared space. And where we have particular user groups and others wanting to stop fishing, or to there might be fear about risk associated with fishing, is to try and work with other agencies and other departments about getting a real perspective on risk, and saying, look, fishing is a really important economic stimulus for Victoria. It's good for people's physical health, it's good for people's mental health, and there is risk that anything we do, but allowing people to go fishing, which is quite a passive recreational pastime, is really important. So that's an opportunity for us to continue to get that message out there, and to continue to look at things like whether it's camping, or whether it's
Well, some of the most recent challenges. I mean, you go up to the Coliban waterways, and they expect you to unbolt your outboard motor. Now, that would mean getting some sort of a lifting device or a crane to lift it off. Imagine all the electrics that go to your dashboard. Like, you're just not going to do it. That's a current challenge. Tarigo, the water authorities want $6 million to upgrade their water treatment plant before they're going to let you go fishing for probably Australia's best population of brown trout. I mean, how do you get through those things?
Well, I am going to say I am going to be glass half full on that. I mean, 4 years ago you couldn't have any boats on any of the Coliban waterways. So, Upper Coliban Reservoir now, Premier Mines Road, there is a beautiful boat ramp in there. You can launch. There is a car park. Yes, you have to remove your petrol motor. Barkers Creek Reservoir, just out of Bendigo, you don't have to remove your petrol motor. Stock with Murray cod and yellow belly, and there's been some wonderful stories. 2 years or 3 years ago, you couldn't do that. So, Malmesbury, Lauriston, we continue to see people fishing those. You saw, and I think you're instrumental in it, Dave, in removing the 25 horsepower, might have been 15 horsepower speed limit at Blue Rock.
Yeah.
So some of these things are a journey, and I will say they are a sprint, and we do want to get there with them. But we've made incredible progress over the last 6 years. I mean, there is access now. Dartmouth Pondage is another one where, for the last 20 or 30 years, there wasn't on-water access, there wasn't fishing access, and so we're really proud of that.
One of the things I know you're also very proud of is line caught permits.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, anyone who's watching this show, I mean, we love our fishing. We don't always catch fish, but to be able to go to places like Portland, Mallacoota, Port Fairy, Lorne, Apollo Bay, what people want to do when they move to, or they go or visit or holiday in a coastal town in Victoria, they want to eat fresh fish. So we've really gone down this innovation path where we've been issuing line caught permits to local fishers to go out and catch fish to sell directly off their boat. So people get.
And when you say local fishers, what, just recreationals, or
no, commercial fishers?
Guys?
So abalone fishers or rock lobster fishers or others that when they're not catching abalone or rock lobster, they can now go out with lines, completely sustainable. They go out there and they catch these fish and they come in and they sell them directly for a premium price off the boat. But when you're on holidays down there with your family and you really want that connectivity with a fish, then you can go and buy them directly there, and it's wonderful.
Just like I presume the old days. I mean, I remember as a kid going down to Mornington Pier with the family, and you'd be able to buy certainly your mussels, your scallops off the boats. Now we don't want the scallops coming back, but you could certainly buy fish as well.
Well, absolutely, and I'll say our Corner Inlet fishermen now are selling directly into restaurants.
Hey Trav, can I just thank you for coming in tonight? It's been a great hour. I could go on for another hour easily, but we're out of time.
Yeah, ran out of cooking videos, but no, it is wonderful. And can I just say to all of the viewers out there, thank you for your continued support of the VFA and what all of our people are doing. And it's a real partnership between all the VFA and all the fishers in Victoria. So we love it.
Awesome stuff. That's it for Talking Fishing. We hope you enjoyed the show. Next week, we're still without a proper studio as Channel 31 relocates. So it's another episode of Talking Fishing Unhooked, where I'm joined by Luke Annetta and Neville Clark, who are both commercial fishers down at Corner Inlet. It'll be an interesting conversation as we delve into the life and times of commercial fishermen. Till we see you again next Tuesday on Talking Fishing, please stay safe on the water, and if you're lucky enough to be able to get out there, enjoy your fishing.
Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. We got all you need, just take a look. Watch those fish jump on your hook. So just relax and take your time. Enjoy the show, then drop us a line. Talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking talking fishing. Talking fishing, talking fishing, nothing but fishing, we're talking fishing. Talking fishing.
Have a good weekend, Mr. Walker.
You too, son.